This podcast is a proud member of Pod Nation Media Network. Are you tired of the coffee crash? Still jittery an hour after your morning cup of coffee? Listen, I used to drink 5, 6, 7 cups a day to just keep going. The anxiety, the stomach pains, the afternoon crash, it was brutal. Then I discovered Rise Coffee, and everything changed. Rise has less than half the caffeine as regular coffee, but here's the magic. It contains 6 organic mushrooms, including cordyceps, lion's mane, and others that naturally sustain your energy without the jitters or crash. We're talking sharper focus, immune support, better gut health, and calm, sustained energy that lasts all day. Plus, it's organic, vegan, and has 0 added sugars. Unlike other mushroom coffees, Rise is USA grown in California. A full spectrum of mushrooms per serving that actually works. Here at Pod Nation, we only partner with brands we actually believe in. And Rise Coffee is the real deal. Head to risesuperfoods.com and use promo code PODNA15 for 15% off your order. That's PODNA 15 for 15% off. Ditch the crash. Fuel your day the right way with Rise Coffee.
I see ghosts, specters all around me, living in stock, blazing the dark. One by one, pictures gather around me. Where those moonflowers used to rust no more. Specters gather around here, living in stock, blazing the dark. Night by night, stare into the black where moonflowers used to grow.
Welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to make the world seem a little more normal. Do I ever succeed in this? Oh, God, no. God, no. But, you know what? Tonight, I ain't going to succeed either, so don't hold me to it. But my guest tonight, I am very happy to say, is the return of Dean Graves. We've had him on before. We recorded the episode back in January, I believe, and I don't know exactly when it released, but it had to be somewhat in the last couple months. But Dean is the author of Chatting with the Arcturians, and he might have something more coming out too. We're going to find out. How you doing tonight, Dean?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Good to see you, and thank you for having me back.
Oh, always my pleasure. And I got to tell you this. Actually, okay, your episode definitely released, because the day your episode released, I had a guest on the show, and she brought up the Arcturians.
Really?
Which synchronicity at its finest right there, because I've never heard anybody bring them up besides you to that point. So, that blew my mind. I literally called it out in the show, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened the same day that his episode released. Like, that's just meant to happen.
It's no coincidences. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it was just phenomenal. But so, since the last time you've been on, Dean, what you been up to?
Well, several things. Continue to chat with the Arcturians. My significant other is a vocal channel for the Arcturians. And I'm the straight guy. I'm the Dean Martin of the Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin duo. They have been providing us with some significant information, not as a warning, but as preparation. As I'm sure you and your listeners are well aware, there's been a variety of speculations of what we consider to be alien visitations. But for the most part, it's been very elusive and not something that was ready to be incorporated into our experiences. And in several communications that we've had with the Arcturians, but not only with the Arcturians, they were joined by other members of the Federation to emphasize the importance and the nature of planned visitations to Earth in the very near future. And they emphasize that this will not be anything that can be explained as swamp gas or the experiences, psychosis, or anything of that nature. They'll be landing in parks and in government on government buildings and things of that nature. The purpose of this visitation, and this is a planned transformation of our experiences by multiple members of the Federation. So it's not going to be just one landing by one group, and it will be prolonged over a period of time. So it will be repetitive by other groups. The initial groups will, by intent, be those that look most like us, so that there will be less fear on our part. But they also will be having future visitations by those that don't look like us. And so there's a wide panoply of different body types that are prevalent throughout creation. And so it'll be a significant change from what the nature of our experiences have been. The primary purpose is to provide us with information, but also to begin to integrate us more into the universe, instead of being isolated as we have been for a long period of time. But it has not been forever. We've been, the earthly population has been quarantined for approximately 25,000 years. And that was intentional because we were struggling and having so much difficulty with our evolutionary advancement, and we were significantly influenced by those beings that have chosen a service to self path. And so it was protective as much as anything. And we have been quarantined. The visitations that we have record of, 99% of them have been service to self individuals or individuals, service to self groups. Infrequently, there have been periodic visitations by service to others, or the positive majority group of the Federation and the universe. And so significant changes on the horizon. In addition to that, I've written a book, and it's my compendium book. It actually will be available in bookstores Sunday on September 1st. And it is called The Enigma of Consciousness, a spiritual exploration of humanity's relationship to creation. And it provides the majority of the information that the general population will need in order to understand the changes that are happening in our experiences, as well as giving them information not essential, but helpful in their own advancement along the enlightenment path. So those are the significant changes in my efforts to provide the general populace with truthful information and transforming the nature of our experience.
A lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack. But, well, let's start off with, and I actually have been seeing a lot of posts about your book on LinkedIn, so I've been following you there, and
good. Okay.
I've been seeing a lot about the Enigma of Consciousness, and I truly, I have to get your books. I really do, because I need to read these things. Even as a paranormal podcaster, as a paranormal lover, I have to read these things because I feel like it's knowledge I need to know. And See, folks, when someone comes on like with this type of information, it makes the fact that the year 2027 keep coming up and that everybody keeps saying it has to do with extraterrestrials, it makes it seem more and more likely that we're not wrong about this date. Like, I mean, have the Arcturians said anything about 2027, or
No,
have they
they
not?
haven't addressed a specific time frame, and they're not in charge. They're not coordinating it. It's a cumulative effort by multiple, as we would think of them as civilizations. Creation has, in our universe, has expanded in multiples of 9 stars, and each star is home to an archetype of the creator. 5 are inherent characteristics and 4 distortions. And the nature of the distortions determine the nature of how we experience creation, particularly at the low level of consciousness that we all share. And so consequently, the Arcturians are a parallel 9-star system. We are part of a 9-star system, and in the book I delineate what those 9 stars are and what the archetypes are that reside in each of those stars, as well as those archetypes that have been instrumental in the creation and guidance of the earthly experience.
Which I just want to point out. So my listeners don't make the same mistake I did in my head for a second there. He's saying 9 stars, not the planets. I literally was like, oh, there's 9 planets. That's perfect. I'm like, wait a minute. Planets aren't stars. I'm like,
nine stars. Yeah, each star is home to an archetype of the creator. And our particular sun, which is what we've named our star, is home to wisdom, which is one of the inherent characteristic archetypes of the creator. And they have been obviously instrumental, but also Sirius B is home to the aspect identified as love for our purposes, which is another inherent characteristic of the creator. And the majority of our creation and guidance has been provided by love and wisdom. But that's not to exclude the other archetypes. They are all participating in our experience, as they do with every experience.
And Harley, thank you for watching and sharing. And hey, Rena, glad to have you watching. But okay, for those who didn't hear the first episode, because I know we had this conversation a little bit in the first episode, when you say creator, you're not talking about any deity as we would call it from religions. We're talking about an extraterrestrial creator who helped humanity get off its stomach, basically.
Well, more than that, creation is consciousness. Everything that we experience is consciousness. The 9 stars are representative. The 5 inherent characteristics are representative of layers of consciousness. And we are in a very low range of consciousness, identified as 3rd density. We're not the lowest, but we are the first density where we establish an enduring self. We coexist simultaneously in the metaphysical world, and our incarnations that we're experiencing right now is an analog projection of that metaphysical self. The metaphysical self is a consciousness pattern. It doesn't have a body as we perceive it having a body, but it is a body by virtue of it being a consciousness pattern. And our range of consciousness is where that begins and evolves through our density and the higher densities above us as we learn the curriculum of each step along the way. Enlightenment is that path. It is the evolution of consciousness. And most people perceive, because of the Buddha's successes, that enlightenment is a destination, but enlightenment is actually a path. It is the evolutionary process itself. And everyone is on the enlightenment path. Everyone is enlightened to the degree that they have allowed themselves to be enlightened. And so we will continue that. It is our metaphysical self, this consciousness pattern that is perpetually evolving. We are an intermittent projection, an analog projection of that metaphysical self to have intense experiences within the perceived physical earth plane.
Which actually, a viewer asked a good question here. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Barnwell, aka the famous Bubbles, asked, what is the difference then between intelligence and wisdom?
Well, wisdom is an inherent characteristic of the Creator, and it is a condition of being, just like love is a condition of being. And it is not, love is not an emotion. Wisdom is likewise a condition of being. Intelligence is the combination of awareness and information. And it's more than that, but that's what they provided us with that we can understand. And intelligence becomes a variable as we choose our incarnations. The level of intelligence at beginning at our range of consciousness becomes a variable that also varies the nature of our experiences, but it's not limiting to our experiences. In other words, if we choose a lifetime in which we would have, relatively speaking, low intelligence by comparison to the others, then what we are actually doing is we are choosing to be a teacher to those around us that have what we would perceive to be a normal or higher intelligence. So that's to say that individual that has incarnated as a lower intelligence being is teaching us, giving us the opportunity to learn sympathy and compassion, which are two precursor characteristics that we are tasked with learning before graduating to the next range of consciousness. And so the variable of intelligence becomes a determinant of teacher-student role, subject-object role in our particular lifetime.
Which, I mean, if anything, human beings are highly, highly lacking in sympathy and compassion. So I will have to agree with that 100%. I mean, that's something that a lot of humanity is. I mean, some people have it down, but a lot of people are lacking that. We don't have those two elements yet.
We as a population, we have been very retarded in our advancement. And compared, for as long as we've been in the system, other third density populations, and there's a lot of them, as a rule, set a standard much higher than what we have even begun to realize.
And it's funny because Jessica actually had another question, but you answered it, so she said, never mind. So there you go. But I mean, and when you said in your original statement that we followed these creatures, for lack of a better word, that are only out for themselves, they're not out for the general
self.
Yep, service to self, exactly. And I mean, I think we talked about this last time, but I'm assuming you mean the Greys and the reptilians.
Well, again, they are not a monolith. The Greys is simply a body type, and they have the same choices in their evolutionary process that we do. And some of them the majority of them choose a service to others path, and some choose a service to self path. And so you can't look at extraterrestrials, as we would call them, as being a monolith, because they're not. It is their orientation within their evolutionary development. We have within our population, one of the primary things that we must choose as people going through the human experience is whether we're going to polarize service to self or service to others. Part of our programming, which is part of the archetypical mind that determines how we process thoughts, and this is delineated in the book as well in some significant degree, we are obligated to create a hierophant, or which is the same thing as an identity or an ego. All three words mean the same thing. But we create this perception of self of as a hierophant for the sole purpose of getting more of what we like. And the irony is that when we begin, we don't know what we like. And so we're experimenting. We learn by analogy. We learn by comparison and contrast. And so as we progress, as we evolve, then we begin to take charge of our evolutionary process or progression. And we are obligated to make a decision whether we're going to polarize service to others or service to self. If we choose, and the reason that that's important is that choice determines the rest of our evolutionary experience for possibly billions of years. But the service to others is the choice to work to unify with the Creator. And that is considered the direct path, because that is our ultimate conclusion of creation, is our reunification with the Creator. Those individuals choosing the service to self path are choosing to enhance this hierophant and try to make this hierophant authentic. And it's held in place primarily by, I would say, ignorance, but also fear. And there is approximately 10% of the universe, or more than universe, than creation's population is on that service to self path. 90% is on the service to others path. Both are valid as far as the Creator is concerned. Both are valid paths, but the service to self path is considered an indirect path, because you will go as far as you can go for potentially billions of years, and then you will hit a brick wall because you can't reunify yourself with your perceived self with the Creator and be separate at the same time. And so you have to go back where you dropped out of school and redo all of that work, learning the path of reunification along the service to others path. But that notwithstanding, there's both paths are respected, because they're providing the Creator with the opportunity to fulfill the purpose of creation.
Which makes sense in a way. I mean, it's kind of like, try to think of a good. I mean, it's kind of like having kids. Like, you could try to teach them
having kids.
I mean, you could try to teach them all you want to be a good person, but at the end of the day, they're going to make their own decisions when they get to a certain age, and you can try to influence it, but you're not going to be able to too much. I mean, you
got to let them climb the tree and let them fall out of the tree, and you just hope that they don't hurt themselves too badly.
Exactly. I mean, and all right, I'm gonna go up on a little bit of a wormhole here, but see, my theory on reincarnation, I don't know if we talked about this last time, I also don't remember, but my theory on reincarnation is that we basically go to a DMV in space, in the sky somewhere, another dimension, whatever you want to call it, and we wait for our ticket to be called. And either we're getting our plate stamped because we did what we were supposed to do, or we're getting told, no, you got to go take the test again, and we go back down to, well, most likely Earth, but I've been told that we could also go to other places as well. But I feel like this is, if we don't learn service to others and we just keep repeating the service to self path, you're going to keep getting told that you need to go take the test again, and you don't actually
Well,
get your plate stamped until you do the service to other life fully.
incarnations are a feature of third density, the density that we experience. And it's because it's a very low um, density, it's an elementary beginning level of consciousness. The average human has incarnated over 3,000 times, some as many as 8,000. The reason that we incarnate is because this is a much more intense environment than we can experience in our consciousness pattern in our metaphysical experience. But if you think of the metaphysical world as and the environments greater than that as a set of Russian nesting dolls, and they're each is a layer within a layer within a layer, and we are the center of the or near the center of the Russian nesting dolls stack. And so before we're born, we are our metaphysical self. After we die, we return and reunify with our metaphysical self. We're never out of contact with our metaphysical self. As a matter of fact, the thoughts that we're processing right now, we are processing in our metaphysical experience. And the fruit of that thought is used to transform our incarnate self. And then we process the next thought. So every time we process a thought, our experience is transformed because we are transformed even on a very minute level.
Which makes sense. That lines up with my thinking in a way. I mean, I'm not going to claim that I know how reincarnation works 100% because I've been told so many different theories by people on this show that I kind of take what I feel is right from each one and kind of combine them. But
I understand.
Because
if you imagine that we're on a sports team, okay, and all week long we practice and we watch game films, we get coaching, we work out, we try to get better. We look at game films from the last game to see what we did wrong, and we set a plan for this next game that we're going to do better. And then we incarnate, and the incarnation is the game. And so right now we're in the game. We're playing the game, but the hickey is that we have to forget everything that we knew before we incarnated. And so we have to delve deep within ourselves to find that plan and that coaching that we received while we were in between our incarnations.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. And kind of brings to my mind the images of that movie with Brendan Fraser, Monkey Bone, where when he goes to the afterlife and all they're doing up there is watching humans, and like it's basically their form of entertainment is that they're watching humans live their lives. And
my higher self laughs at me all the time, so I know that we're entertaining to them, but that's not their primary activity.
I mean, I feel like nowadays with all this social media, such as Facebook Reels and YouTube, we're basically just preparing ourselves for that in the afterlife anyway. So it's already what we're forced to do now. So, I mean, it's just, so I gotta ask, because the world's in horrible condition right now. The other side of the world has wars starting left and right.
Mm-hmm.
America is on the precipice of something really of a decision that's going to change us for the next 4 years or longer. And I mean, what are the Arcturians saying about how Earth is running right now?
Well, for several years, significant effort has been exerted in order to intensify the nature of our experiences so that we will be compelled to make this choice of whether we're going to polarize service to self or service to others. And on top of that, we are in the process of splitting. And by that, I mean dimensionally, the majority of the children that have been born since the 2005, 2006, around in there, some before and a lot since then, are fourth density. They're higher consciousness than we are. And the split is going to be those that are still learning the third density curriculum will continue on in a third density experience, which will be a parallel experience to fourth density. And these children and those few number of us that are ready to graduate to fourth density will go with the fourth density population. And it will be the same physical Earth, but dimensionally we will not interact. And we will be a fourth density and a third density planet simultaneously. And we are in the process of that right now. And what we're experiencing is the turmoil, because the lower consciousness is a lower vibration. The higher consciousness is obviously a higher vibration. And we're irritating to each other. The lower consciousness is irritated by the higher consciousness, and the higher consciousness is irritated by the lower consciousness. But that is the stimulus that is compelling that, particularly that lower consciousness, to make the choice of whether they're going to, do the work to evolve, or whether they need more time to learn the lessons of third density.
Which, I mean, does make sense, because I mean, some might call it even the spiritual awakening, which we've had multiple of in the last couple decades. And you're right, they're younger than me even. I mean, I was graduating high school in 2006, so these are the generation below me for sure.
Yeah.
If not two generations below me even. But the fact is that I see more and more of these age range of people that are coming to my show, even they have awakened their spiritual selves. They have figured out their ability, what they can do, and they are using it to their full potential. And that's what they do for a living, a lot of them. And something like that, when I was in college, and if I ever thought I could do something like that and actually make a living off it, I would have stopped paying the damn college right then and went and did it. Like, when I was younger, it wasn't a possibility. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. It wasn't a possibility when we were younger. Like, it was just
certainly. I mean, when I was, young, it wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even an option. But you can look at YouTube and look at the children that 3 and 4 years old, just hearing a Mozart piece and then sitting down and playing it, and that's. They think everybody can do that. So they're not amazed by it at all. We're amazed by it. But that's just the nature of that higher intelligence, higher consciousness. Higher intelligence is automatic with higher consciousness. And so...
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I like to consider myself semi-intelligent, but I mean, I mean, that's why I do this show. It's because I want to get my consciousness to be higher. And I mean, we've talked about it on my other podcast. I just actually was sharing the episode out yesterday or the day before. We spent an hour and a half contemplating what consciousness actually is, and in all that time, we really couldn't put our fingers on it, like what exactly it is. I mean, it brings up so many wormholes.
You need to read the book, because in the book, the first chapter explains precisely what consciousness is, and then a large portion of the book explains how that transforms into the nature of our experiences at a lower level of consciousness.
Which, I mean, it's funny because it's not funny. It's sad for us, because the amount of turmoil and hell this world's gonna have to go through before these younger generations that have this more conscious being take power. It's going to be decades before they actually get into offices where they can actually make changes that are good.
Well, when you think of 2005, 2006, they're reaching age of maturity now, where they are making an impact already. When you look at the college students that are protesting decisions by governments around the world, the protests against authoritarians in different countries around the world. Look at what just happened in Venezuela, for example. And it's not resolved yet, but the pressures from the younger people, from those that are choosing service to others, to expel the service to self is tremendous right now. And yes, there's probably going to be more turmoil. And this transformation, this split, is going to take multiple generations. The children that are coming in fourth density right now are in what is considered to be transitional bodies. In other words, their bodies are not like our bodies. Our bodies are chemical. Theirs are predominantly chemical, but they're also more electric. And as they have the next generation, then those bodies will be even more electric until eventually they are entirely electric. And that will be the nature of their incarnation, that their body, and they will no longer need to repeatedly incarnate. They won't experience illness. They won't experience pain other than a minor pain that we wouldn't even go to the doctor for when they die. And so the nature of fourth density experience is dramatically different from our third density experience, but you have to give that fourth density population time to make that transition through several generations in order to find their mojo. But they will manifest things by thinking about it.
Which is ironic because I have talked more about manifestation on this show than it's one of the highest topics I talk about in this show with guests is manifestation, because so many of my guests teach it. So many of my guests are teaching people how to do it. And it's true. I mean, if I am hurting financially, which is, a daily situation, but when I'm hurting financially, I just think like I'm going to find a way to get the money. It's all I think about all day, every day. And somehow it always works out. Everything always works out in the end, but it's because I've been told, and I believe it's because I'm actively putting my mind power towards it. And I'm saying like, this is what's going to happen. I'm shaping the world around me in small ways somehow or some way. I don't know how.
You're transforming yourself. Remember, we change ourselves every time we process a thought. And as you change yourself, we are magnetic. And having money is nothing more than a thought. Everything that we experience is a thought. And so as we surrender those conditions, those beliefs that we've incorporated into this hierophant about not having money or can't have money or whatever it is, as we surrender those, we transform ourselves, so our magnetism changes. And so we attract those thoughts that bring us more of what we like. Now, our higher self provides us with opportunity for experiences to become aware of what those beliefs are that we've incorporated into our perception of self that are hindering our advancement or getting more of what we like. But it's incumbent upon us to apply that awareness that we inherently have, because that is an inherent characteristic of the Creator, to become aware of those beliefs that we've incorporated into this hierophant and surrender them. We can only heal ourselves. No one can heal us but us. And the only healing that needs to take place is the transformation, our perception of self.
Which is, that's why mental health is such a big topic nowadays, I believe, because human beings are realizing that we need to change how we think. We need to change who we are mentally we can't we can't let depression, anxiety, and all these other mental illnesses get the best of us anymore.
Well,
We have to.
what is a mind? We're a mind, body, spirit, but what is a mind?
I can't say that's a definition I really feel comfortable giving an answer to. Even
Okay, well,
we don't know.
Neither does psychology or psychiatry.
Yep.
They have no answer for it. A mind is nothing more than a bundle of thoughts. A bundle of beliefs. That's all a mind is. It becomes our lens that we use to interpret thoughts, which are our experiences. It is our spirit that is the actual experiencer. The mind is nothing more than a bundle of beliefs that we have incorporated into this hierophant, and it is the lens that we use to interpret our experiences. And so if we have a distorted lens, then we are going to have a distorted experience. If we can clear that lens, and that is the evolutionary process to dissolve these beliefs that have formed this hierophant. It's the same process in higher dimensions as well.
Yeah, it's true. I guess that really is all our mind is. It's just, and it's how we're brought up. It's how we see the world. Every experience changes your beliefs, and it's funny because I just saw the movie Inside Out 2 with my kids, and it's amazing how Disney is able to actually put that together, where that's how our minds work, is all these different emotions controlling us. And I like the second one actually, because it actually proves that you can't let anxiety control you. Like, it's the point of the movie. Sorry for any spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but it's a damn Disney movie. Get over it. But it's interesting. It really freaking is. And I see. I was always brought up with the belief that, going back to the financial thing, is that you work your whole life to basically try to survive. Like, that's how I watched my parents do it.
And where did that come from? Would that be a service to others' thought, or would be that a service to self-thought?
Unfortunately, it's a service to self-thought, but it's survival, which is what runs our service to self.
That is part of the hegemony that the service to self has instilled into our population, and it's not true. That is part of that is one of the magnanimous hegemonies that we must learn to surrender. There is ample quantity of everything for everybody. But because of that mentality that has been instilled into the population by the service to self, people hoard. And because of hoarding is the only reason that there is shortage of anything anywhere.
Well, yeah, we all saw how that went during the pandemic. having to buy toilet paper off Amazon for like $100 for 4 rolls, like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, if you can get it, yeah.
If you can get it, I worked in the retail world during all that, and oh my God, to go into stores and see whole aisles empty was mind blowing. It's something I never saw in my life. I haven't seen it since. I don't want to see it again. It was just horrible. And I talked to store managers about it during the time, and none of them could believe it either. They never, in their 30, 40 years in the retail industry, they've never seen anything like it. It was an unbelievable time. And we got through it. Human beings got through it. I think the pandemic actually helped with our service to others' mind.
I think it did. Yeah. But I said years ago that, people usually want to hoard guns in the event of an apocalypse so that they can get what they want. And I made the decision, what you really want to hoard is toilet paper.
Yeah,
that makes you king.
Yeah, it truly did. It truly did for a year or so there. And yeah, I mean, I would like to think the apocalypse isn't going to happen. I
And there's not going to
don't
be an
think.
apocalypse unless we can facilitate within our population an apocalypse if we choose to do that. But there's none planned.
Yeah, I mean, if we did ever do it, it would just be service to self getting such a run from people in control that no one could stop it. I mean,
Well,
it
there is 16 um, civilizations, small and large, that have been combined on Earth. In other words, Earth is a second chance planet. We're all going through reform school because we haven't graduated in previous third density experiences. But the population that originated we first originated our experience on Venus, which used to be called Zenoa. And through service to self, interference, and conflict on the planet itself, we blew the atmosphere off the planet. We were then transferred to Maldak, which is now the asteroid belt circling in our galaxy, and we blew that whole planet up. And then we were transferred to Mars, and we blew the atmosphere off of Mars. And when we got to Earth, there was a continent in between North America and Europe called Atlantis that we blew up, and it sunk below the waves. The last of it sunk below the waves approximately 8441 BC. So we have a very destructive history.
Oh, as human beings, we like to live up to our name and continue that streak, it seems. But
well,
it's unfortunate as that is.
Hopefully, we're getting past that.
Hopefully, I mean, my whole life I've heard with every conflict, how long till they unleash the bombs? And they've yet to do it. So I think humanity at its deepest core is just realizing it's not the answer. It's not going to be the answer.
Haven't unleashed the Kraken yet.
No, not yet. I mean, things are looking scary over there in the Asian territories and whatnot, but it's in the Middle East. But I mean, I don't know. Hopefully November changes some things, and I don't want to say names, but hopefully November changes some things and we can actually get back on the right path. But
well, our politics is representative of politics that are happening around the world. And the same bifurcation of ideologies that we're experiencing, many other countries are experiencing the same thing. And so you can say it's a global condition.
I mean, it is. It really is. I mean, we can't think about ourselves anymore as just one country. Basically, what happens in the world affects us every day. So
yeah, we're integrated as a population.
It is, and I mean, it's scary sometimes. But I have to ask you about this because I had these great guests in the show a couple months ago. I don't know if you heard of them by any chance, but Leslie and Stephen Shaw. She's a psychic medium, and he's a third generation abductee.
Okay.
And he had a wonderful tale. I wouldn't even call it a tale. He had a wonderful retelling of his family's been abducted by Greys for 3 generations. And through their communication with these creatures and through Leslie's psychic abilities, they've discovered that discovered what a lot of us already assumed, that the main reason that these were abducted is because they're interested in our reproductive systems, basically. That's which I kind of want to get your opinion on this, if you think that's why we're abducted.
Yeah. The abduction is only purpose of the abductions, which are all done by service to self, is to instill fear. And because when they instill fear, that's why wars are started. That's why we have autocrats that begin wars and invasion of other countries. When when you choose to follow the service to self path and you graduate from third density as a service to self entity, then what you're choosing to do is to isolate yourself from your higher self. You keep the same higher self, but you choose to separate yourself from your higher self. Your higher self provides us, particularly in third density, fourth density, and fifth density, with a constant flow of energy that's called intelligent energy. You have to have the intelligent energy in order to maintain your presence in creation. If you don't have that, then you will not die. You just lose your consciousness pattern. And as consciousness, you just merge back into the big world, big vastness of consciousness. But the service to self has to replace that source of energy that they have decided not to get from their higher self anymore. And third density, us, are like Goldilocks. Our porridge, we have enough energy to make it worth their while, but we're not smart enough to know that we're not supposed to give it away. And so we're like the Goldilocks porridge to the service to self path beings. And so they don't want to kill us. They just want to keep us on like the Matrix. They just want to keep us in the cocoon, yep, so that they can.
Oh.
We have a war every time that we have an abduction and we experience fear. Every time that we show fear, that radiates this, we give up this energy. And so they constantly, in order to keep us in a position to continue to be a source of energy for them, they have to dominate and subjugate us. And what we were talking about before with this ideology that we have to work hard, that we're essentially a slave to debt and all those things that everybody deals with every day, those are all just contrivances to keep us doing the same thing, not becoming aware of who we are and what our purpose is or anything like that. Don't want us to wake up and do anything like that, because that would cause us to evolve. And as we evolve, we become more aware, and we quit radiating this energy because we're stuck in a constant state of anxiety and fear.
Which, folks, if you want to see a good example of a service to self being, watch Resident Alien. I swear to God, it's right on cue with what these type of creatures are.
It is a very good. You can just compare the political parties in this country and make your assessment from the standpoint of who is service to self and who is service to others.
Exactly. I mean, it's true. You can look at it that way. But in our last few minutes here or so, two things I wanted to ask, and well, talk about, I guess, better things to say. But first thing I will ask is, what? I know I don't want you to give it all away because I want people to actually, read the book and buy it. But what is our future going to look like according to the Arcturians in a brief glimpse?
Except us. They don't predict the future. The probability is almost guaranteed that the population is going to split, and there are going to become parallel populations that don't interact, but the nature of the experience will be determined by the population itself. And that's true for the fourth density population and the third density population. We have absolutely free will to choose.
But when you say the population is going to split, like an actual West Germany, East Germany type of split, or
no, more of a... You're thinking of things in terms of physicality. And the populations are going to split, and perceivably the Earth is going to be the same to each population, but they will be separate planets on different vibrations. But they will appear third density, the third density population, the planet will appear to be the same. The fourth density population, the planet will begin to heal significantly because of the nature, the higher vibration of the planet itself. But from anybody occupying the planet, that's not going to be discernible that there has been any sort of split, because their vibration will be only able to recognize the planet that is corresponding to their vibration.
Makes sense. And I mean, for those in the higher vibration, I think they'll be able to tell something's different, of course, but they may not be able to put their fingers on it.
Well,
but there'll be something different.
not for a long time. As they evolve, yes, they have to go. They will, once they attain this fully electric body and they've made some progression in their own evolutionary process, then they will interact with the third population, but not until after they learn to shield themselves from discovery by the third density population. The fourth density beings interact with us all the time. They're around us, they're watching us, they're observing us, they're taking notes, probably taking selfies to send back home. I don't know. Now, but yeah, they interact with us all the time.
I gotta ask this. It just kind of came to me in that thought, but I gotta ask this. Do you believe that Bigfoot and other similar cryptids might be fourth dimensional beings?
No, they were actually third density beings. And after we blew up Maldak, the population was described as being in a knot of fear. And in order, as part of their healing, they large portions of the population incarnated in 3 different Bigfoot groups. And for the most part, they lived within the earth, not on the earth. Some of them, they would come up to the earth, but the majority of their activities were within the earth itself, within the core of the earth itself. But those Bigfoot was a part of the healing process. The people remained, they were still third density, but that was part of their healing process. The Bigfoot, all of the populations lived for approximately 900 years. And so their opportunity for learning and healing was significant. But my understanding is that all of Bigfoot has vacated the planet now, that it's no longer necessary.
But yet people still see them on a weekly basis almost.
Well, I haven't looked for them. The word that I get is that is no longer a productive part of the healing, which is still going on by large parts of the population, that the healing from that knot of fear, which was another major hickey in our ability to progress in future third density experiences, because of that that conditioning, that predisposition towards fear.
See, the reason I asked about that and the fourth dimensional thing is because a lot of experts on Bigfoot and other cryptids, they believe a lot of them are ultra terrestrials, that they can hop in and out of dimensions as they please, in a way.
Well, they're very good at hiding themselves. That was part of their criteria. There have been fourth density populations that have cohabited Earth for a long time, and those are in the form of whales and dolphins.
That makes sense. I mean, goodbye and thank you for all the fish. I mean, it truly makes sense, but it's. I mean, they're more intelligent than we are, I believe. So
well,
I mean, it makes
they're
sense.
They're both second density dolphins and fourth density dolphins. Understand that the fourth density is the spirit habitation of the body, and so they appear the same. They behave much differently, though. The ones that you see jumping in the waves, and playing on the beach waves and that sort of thing, almost undoubtedly would be fourth density dolphins. whales, more of the whales are fourth density, but there is still some whales that are second density and some that are fourth density. I'll tell you real quickly before you leave. In my younger years, before I had any sort of awakening or any idea of anything that we've been talking about, I was learning to scuba dive, and I went to Puerto Vallarta in order to take my open water dive. You know, when you finish your training, you have to go and take a dive in open water. And I signed up for a scuba diving trip, and we showed up at the dock on the morning we were going to go do this scuba diving trip. And we're looking at all the big boats, and this young little Mexican boy ran up to us and asked us if we were looking for the scuba divers. And we said yes, and he's pointed over here to another part of the bay that, or the dock that had two John boats, large John boats. And those were the rides for our scuba diving trip, not the big, comfortable cabin cruisers types of thing.
Of course not.
So we debated whether we were going to go or not. And so we decided, let's go. What the hell? So we got in, and we put all of our equipment in one boat, and we all climbed in. There were about 9 of us or 10 of us, and it was a pretty good sized John boat. And so the dive master took us out, and we went to this rock escarpment out in the middle of the ocean that was just snow white, but it was because it was all covered with bird poop, and we couldn't tie up, so we had to float in these waves. And watching the waves, it was about a 20-foot swale as we watched it go along the wave, go along the side of this cliff. But on the way out there, we were surrounded by a school of dolphin. I don't know whether you call them a school or a pod or whatever. And the dive master said it is the biggest pod of dolphin that he had ever seen. And he pulled out his video camera and was filming them. They were all around us. They were jumping. And a couple of them came up right next to the boat. We were only about 4 inches off the water in this John boat. And you could, and I petted the dolphins, and they just, did that thing where they, like Flipper, they rolled over and looked at me with one eye, and I petted them, and then they swam off. And then the whole pod or the whole school swam away, and these 3 blue whales and a family, a mom, dad, and a baby whale came, and they didn't get that close to us, but they came and swam next to us. And I didn't, I just thought it was wonderful. I was just enthralled by the whole thing, as everybody else in the boat was, including the dive master that goes out every day. And years later, when I started talking to my higher self and learning what I've been talking about with you, and I remembered that, and I thought back to that experience, and I inquired, and that was the dolphins that rolled up were my higher self, and the whales were my higher self. And they just came to visit and to give me comfort and give me something to remember to ask about, in future years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I mean, so basically we can get our future selves can present themselves to us in a way.
Oh yeah, they do all the time.
Interesting. And so, okay, that one question made me think of so many other questions, but I'll save them for I'll save them for when your 3rd book comes out.
Well, this is actually my 4th book, but this is the compendium book, and this is the one that has all the information in it. And I'm working on a 5th book, but it's going to be a while before it comes out. The 5th one's going to be on the Arcturians.
Oh, nice. We'll definitely have to talk when that one's about to come out. But why don't you tell my audience basically a little synopsis of your 2nd book, or your 4th book technically, and where they can find it and where they can find you.
Well, it's called The Enigma of Consciousness, a spiritual exploration of humanity's relationship to creation. You can get it on Amazon as an ebook or any other ebook source that you may use. You can order it on Amazon, or you can go to your favorite bookstore and get it at your favorite bookstore. If they don't have it, tell them they can order it. Tell them that they need to order it and stock it, which I would appreciate that support. But you can go buy the print copy at the bookstore or order it from Amazon, and you can get the ebook in the next 10 minutes. You know how ebooks work. You just download them and start reading.
Yes. And then you don't go to sleep for the rest of the night because you want to continue.
Yeah, I did that last night. I'm not going to do that again tonight.
I haven't read part of a book I haven't read a book in so long. To speak kids and podcasting. But
I went through a long period where I didn't read. I read a lot, and then I didn't read, and I started reading again a few years ago. And I just have to read every night before I go to sleep. And doggone, I started a Stephen King book that's a sequel to The Shining, The Sleep Doctor.
Oh.
And I was hooked last night. I just kept just one more chapter. And finally, I just had to close the book and said,
yeah, years ago, before I was living with kids, I used to read Stephen King every night. When I would go off my nightly cigar, and I'd read Stephen King while I drank some whiskey, smoked a cigar, and certain books I'd finally get to the point where I'm like tired enough where I'm like, all right, I want to go inside. Cigar would be out for a freaking while, and I'd look at the clock. I'd be like, I've been outside for 3 hours. What?
Yeah. Well, they're great stories, and you get into the story, and you just identify with the people so much that you don't want to leave them. You want to find out what cliffhanger he's gotten them into next.
Exactly, especially when you get to actually the good part, past all the 10-chapter intro of the town and the people. When you actually get to the good part, it's forget about it.
That's where I was last night. So
I get that. Well, folks, please go check out The Enigma of Consciousness. Go check out Chatting with the Arcturians if you haven't. And if you want to hear Dean's first appearance on this show, he actually said a good 10-15 minutes ago. So the episode is called Earth is a Second Chance Planet. As soon as you said that, I clicked in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the name of the first episode. So go check it out, folks. I mean, our first conversation was just as enlightening as this one and just as entertaining. So please go check it out. It was a fun convo. And you all know where you could find me by now. If you don't, God, shame. But check the outro, listeners. It's there as always if you're new. And go back about 200-something episodes and listen. But other than that, I want to thank Dean for coming on because it's always a pleasure to talk to him, and I look forward to his 5th book coming out so I can have him on again. I'm about to write down some of these damn questions I have in my head. But, well, thank you all, and I will be back tomorrow with another interview as soon as the guest confirms. But have a good one, and I will see you again.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You can find me on Facebook as Jeremy Bryant, or you can find me as Uncensored, Unapologetic, and Untamed UQ Podcast Collective Facebook group. You can find me on Twitter and the Instagram as @JugglerBastard, or should I say X now. And you can find me on TikTok as @JugglerBastard Podcast. You can also find me on YouTube as Paranormal The New Normal. And you can also find me streaming on YouTube as Blind Knowledge Network, because all knowledge is blind until they admit Bigfoot exists.